Guys, what a year. The way we got robbed in the EuroLeague final was spectacular, and once again, we came up short again. If we had won another European Cup, it would have been our 12th. Madrid has lost 8 finals and already has 11 European basketball cups in the previous version. EuroLeague version combined, but 8 finals, 8 runner-up finishes. And man, look, it was clear that it was very difficult and almost impossible with the absences. Hey, without Tabares, without Garuba, so short-handed. It's very important to beat a team like Olympiacos, especially in Greece. But of course, they've already made sure that wouldn't happen, just in case Madrid might get a little too close. And they were. What happened in the last few minutes was incredible. In a game where they were in it, allowing a lot of actions much worse than this one. And for example, this one here from Campazzo, what a mess that was, really. It was a terrible thing. Let's check with the EuroLeague. I have my own issue with UEFA. I'll mention it briefly. Well, this thing with Campazzo and the Olympiacos player, did he call a foul here, man? Madrid was recovering that ball. Here, Madrid gets the ball back and the guy calls a foul. But then there's another one right after. And look, the score is here. Madrid was down by 2, fourth quarter, 1:22 left to finish the game. The game was still very much alive. Madrid had everything against them. The court, the fans, the injuries, everything. We held on until then, and then it slipped away from us. It slipped away. With this foul and another one they call here on Phillies. Wait, hold on. Okay? Let's see. Just a moment. I have to do something here, like in soccer, and put it on just for a little while. Anyway, did you see it? Look, the foul they call here too, I insist. It's unbelievable considering what we had already seen during the match. But anyway, besides that, there were also unjustifiable time-wasting incidents that weren't penalized. Anyway, really ugly things, a total robbery, and that's it. I mean, what a season overall, because there's still a bit of basketball season left. Well, the league, but yeah, there's a lot of frustration left because lately we've been losing European finals. We usually focus on football over basketball, but today we had to start with basketball. And I want to make one thing clear as we move on to football and the election issue. And it's just that I've seen everyone say it, and I've also heard Enrique Riquelme say that Florentino commented about a strong Barça. That's a massive hoax. And hey, don't think this is just my opinion. In a collaboration with Edu Bagnon from Fanático Real Madrid, he told me, Miguel Serrano, that's something Florentino never said. Damn, it's true. But he told me this about a year and a half ago, not 2 years almost, well, a year and a half, not 2 years. Because in fact, 2 years haven't passed yet. From that famous assembly of delegates, of Real Madrid delegates, of member delegates, where Florentino Pérez said this.
Barça and Madrid have to help each other. I'm telling you this with complete sincerity.
Well, Barcelona and Real Madrid, Barça and Real Madrid, we have to help each other. He never said a strong Barcelona. Some of you may be thinking, come on, what do you mean no? Is that justified? No, it's not justifiable. You know, if you watch more of my videos, some people might be surprised and say Riquelme isn't paying him. If you watch more of my videos, you'll see, you've probably heard me criticize Florentino for this a million times. But this phrase, not the other one, because we have to be precise. In journalism, you have to be precise. In journalism and outside of journalism too, right? But especially in journalism, right? And the thing is, I'm hearing and reading journalists, listening to journalists, and now the candidate for the presidency of Real Madrid, to whom I would have to say, don't say that, because it's nonsense. But anyway, in the end, it's almost the same thing, right? But we have to be precise, because Florentino never said that, and I think that's something that needs to be made clear, because nobody realizes it, nobody. The journalism we have today is unbelievable. Nobody stops to say, wait a minute, that was never said. Although, as I said here in the tweet I posted a while ago, it's wrong and reprehensible, yes, but let's be precise. And even more so, the guy who's going to compete with Florentino to be the next president of Real Madrid and who is almost certain to lose, that's Enrique Riquelme, right? Look, he would have scored a lot more points if in that interview with Marca that we talked about in the previous video, he had said it like this and not the way they said he did, right? It's just that we're in a moment in an electoral campaign where both of them, and hopefully there will be a debate between them, are going to have to say things to each other and reproach each other for things. That's how electoral campaigns are, and rightly so, 100%. any inaccuracy can go against you. What happens is that, well, we live in a political environment where it's not just inaccuracies, there are real absurdities. And so, well, in football, it can be the same. Like I said, the season, well, we're very used to disappointments, but careful, we're not. Atleti, who lost badly today, 5-1 to Villarreal, and Villarreal has overtaken them in the standings. Villarreal is finally third. The 25-26 league season has just ended. Goodbye, thank you, just a few minutes ago. Villarreal beat Atlético de Madrid 5-1 and overtook them in the standings. Villarreal is third. Remember that next year, 5 teams will go to the Champions League. Let's see if Barça gets knocked out of there. And if UEFA does what it has to do with the documentation, it already has to sanction the club that paid the deputy head of referees for 2 decades. And then, well, 4 go. Or Celta de Vigo could go. Celta de Vigo could go. Who's sixth? Hopefully that would mean Barça has been left out, and then everything would move down a spot, right? Getafe would then go to the Europa League and Rayo Vallecano to the conference, whose final is in a few days, by the way. But really, Atlético de Madrid's season is something to see. I mean, Atlético de Madrid finished 17 points behind Madrid. Almost 30 behind Barça, 25 behind Barça, 25, right? 25 behind Barça, man. Atletico de Madrid has been a disaster this year. They reached the Champions League semifinals and the Cup final, but didn't win either. It's an incredible trophyless season, and they're also 25 points behind first place. They'll have to deal with it. They just don't have that something. That's why they're Atleti and we're Real Madrid. But speaking of historic teams that have gone downhill, watch out for Milan. I'm talking about historic teams that had it all. In fact, I don't think Milan had ever dropped out of the Champions League spots. They had everything needed to return to Europe all year, but now they're left out of the Champions League. That's where Como is going, by the way. What a great season from Cesc Fabregas' team. He's going to be a great coach, that guy. And I would hand over Mastantuono to him and say, make him a man, just like he did with Nico Paz and Jacobo Ramon, who will see if he comes back now. If not, make him one for me. He's a coach that, even though he's a Barca fan, we already talked about him in a video. But damn, if we put that aside a little, I know that for Madrid fans, and I include myself, it's hard to let go of those things. But the truth is that this man looks like a really good coach. And speaking of coaches, I think Arbeloa handled his departure from Real Madrid really well and with a lot of class. In his farewell message, he dedicates one to Guller and others, but I'll focus on the one about Mbappe to avoid listing them all. I think that after everything that happened, I think Arbeloa left with a lot of class. And what's more, I think there's something to reproach the club for. I mean, the club didn't even give him an official announcement or an unveiling event. The club hasn't issued any statement to say goodbye to him. As far as I know, I might be wrong or confused, but I don't think so. And man, I think he deserved it, right? Especially because I haven't agreed with a lot of things he's done, like walking by and seeing the trophies, remember? You know, you guys know that I just comment here on what I see, and there are things I think are good and others I think are bad about the same person, right? We're used to seeing people on social media who are fanatics and idolize certain people, and everything they do is just fine. And you say, hey, really, but where's your judgment, man? That's why I say there have been some press conferences I didn't like. Some things I haven't liked, you know. But he's done other things that, honestly, when it comes to the club, like shielding the club, defending the club and all that, being a club man, the press conference he gave the other day, hey, fantastic. Even when he called out Mbappé for what he had just done, for the really bad gesture from the Frenchman, for going out to speak in the mixed zone before he went to the press conference, for rushing and saying everything the coach said. Did he say to me that I'm the fourth striker? What Mbappé did was terrible. I would have booed him yesterday too. I wasn't at the stadium at the start of the match, but then I would have forgotten about it. And yet, part of the fans kept booing him. I thought what happened with Mbappe yesterday was just as bad as what happened with Vinicius back in the day. But anyway, here, you know, a lot of so-called Real Madrid fans think some boos are fine and others are not. Well, that's how it is. The flip-floppers, the same old flip-floppers, right? What I'm saying is, if we think it's wrong to do it to one player, we should think it's even worse to do it to another, right? Because even though Mbappe has behaved badly, he's still a Real Madrid player. But anyway, there are hate campaigns and so on, which honestly I think is terrible among Madrid fans. But those are the ones who later insult and message me. Of course, this year, both him and Vinicius, why has it been both of them? Because the issue with Vinicius is only coming up now, at the end of the season. In the last match, when Carvajal says goodbye, there are things here, like I've mentioned in previous videos, that suggest it could be a tough personal issue, right? That there was some kind of romantic breakup and all that. Those of us who know what that's like, or if you have a personal issue that really touches your heart and all, it's really tough. If Madrid wasn't playing for anything, I think it's fine for the club to give him permission. I don't think it's right to lump everything together in 1 year. A fight between two guys, someone taking a vacation mid-season with doctor approval, and now this guy's actions. Look, man, with what Vinicius did, also with Xavi Alonso. By the way, Xavi Alonso is going to miss out on Europe next year with Chelsea. It's not his responsibility, but rather the responsibility of the coaches who came before him there. And, well, it's a tough break for Xavi, but hey, maybe he can get into the Premier League and then play in Europe the following year, right? Yeah. He still holds his position there. Anyway, as I mentioned, back to Vinicius. It's been a terrible season. Look, even Jesus Bengoechea himself said in a tweet that he doesn't see what either of them did as that bad. But of course, you put it all together, all inside the same locker room where terrible things have happened this year, and that explains that everything there needs to be rebuilt. I mean, that place, let's be honest, you'd need a lot of cement to hold things together again because things have been broken there. There was an image from yesterday when Bellingham scored the goal, and I don't think it's a coincidence, and I'm not one of those people who focuses on those little details. But does Mbappe go to celebrate with, well, he goes to celebrate. Does he join the group hugging Bellingham? And he doesn't wait for Bellingham to come out to give him a hug, to give him a high five. He gives a high five to Gonzalo and then turns around. They're making a lot of noise about that. Look, I think there's been something obvious between Mbappe and Bellingham that hasn't worked, that isn't working this year. So, well, Mourinho, or whoever it is, has to fix that. He has to remove all the toxicity from that locker room and turn this around completely. Because if not, watch out. With Florentino or the other guy, and I think it's going to be Florentino, no matter how well we're doing financially, no matter what, a third season without titles. Because the locker room is the key to everything. If the locker room is broken and can't be fixed, a third season without titles, that's when everything blows up. Florentino, Ananas, Lagari, the other guy, the guy with the motorcycle, and the same would apply if the other candidate won. I mean, even if he wasn't to blame for the previous 2 bad years, Madrid can't afford 3 years without winning anything. Well, tell me whatever you want down there. Always with respect, please, because lately, oh my. And well, I really appreciate those of you who send me messages of encouragement and, a bit of loyalty to this channel. Thank you for listening. Thank you for understanding. And please give it a like because it's really important, especially these days. Subscribe if you haven't already to make up a bit for the drop we've had lately. And we have to take it with a sense of humor as best we can. And I'll see you in the next one. Hope you have a great start to the week. Bye.